good. Appreciate it. Yeah, I think it's important. I guess I'll take this just opportunity right now to reiterate that if you have a question that you want answered, the best place to ask it is in a specific thread. Make your own new thread in the Ask Us Anything area. It's very difficult for us to, or especially, myself, yes, we have people, pretty much online 24/7, but to go back through general and find a specific question and then respond to it, most likely in general, is just very messy. So if you have specific questions, if there's something that everyone's unsure of, the best thing you can do is just open a thread within Ask Us Anything, and that will keep all of that information contained within there. And then it doesn't matter if, it's 24 hours later that we come back with a response, it's still relevant to all of the conversation within that space, as opposed to suddenly responding in general to a question from 24 hours ago, which is just completely out of context. So yeah, I appreciate you guys jumping on. As I said, it seems to be, from what I saw, there's a lot of confusion and conversations going on last night, a lot of misinterpretation of information. So just wanted to take a moment to clarify a few things. Firstly, the overall process of distributing the rewards for Quest 3 has been quite messy, and in part because we've been doing this with a third party. It's something that we are working through. We're still going back and just triple checking, auditing all of the exports that have been received from Mark to make sure that all of the relevant criteria was met and paid out accurately. There's a lot of open tickets that the support team are working through, and they're actually smashing through them as quickly as they can. You should be getting a response very quickly, but it may take a little while to get them resolved, but we will ensure that we get them all resolved. So I appreciate the patience and just working through this. The community support team have a lot on their plate right now, but they are very onto it and they will get through everything. And as touched on, we are doing a full audit of all of the data from Quest 3 itself. To the wider point, I just want to clarify a few things that were discussed and potentially some confusion that came out of the 30 Minutes Max yesterday when it comes to the ongoing payout of root from the community pool via the future score and quests. Firstly, I just want to clarify. So when the 2-year timeline that was originally given by Aaron, as pointed out, this isn't anything that was officially confirmed, but it was given as a very solid approximation. The reason yesterday I said it may be closer to 3 is just to moderate expectations there, that it's not necessarily going to be bang on 2 years, but it is most likely going to be 2 years. It may extend a couple months further. I highly doubt it would go as long as 3 years. And I've spoken to some of the team internally over the last 24 hours just to clarify. The intention is still very much to pay that out over an approximate 2-year period, give or take a little bit, just based on wider market conditions, partnership deals. There may be some big activations or key happenings that we want to target when it comes to future score quests that fall explicitly outside that 2-year period. But our goal is to distribute all of that route to the community, and almost all of it will happen through future score quests themselves. I said I think it was potentially as much as like 0.5% would be going out through other means like competitions and giveaways. Now, there is a chance that will actually come from a separate pool, but what I was referring to there, even just as an example, was the route that was paid out to the wallets that or the people that participated in the charity auction from almost 2 years ago. That was kind of done as a semi secret surprise quest that wasn't an official quest, but there was a payout there, and a decent sized one. But it's basically just to, when I say decent sized, it was I think all in all about 4 million. But once again, if we look at the full 20% allocation, which is what, 2.4 billion tokens total, it's a tiny drop in the ocean of that total distribution. So just really want to reiterate here that, the 99+% of that is going out through future score quests. And the way that we are managing these quests is to, with the first quest, as we did, do a real kickstart to the distribution to reward those people that are here, active and engaged and participating. We wanted to ensure that, the people that had been coming back every day while things were quiet were the first to benefit. And but then want to moderate expectations that, that's not necessarily going to be the amount that we pay out on every single quest. And there's been a bit of kind of maths going on in the background, which, I get it. You guys want to try and figure out what's going on behind the scenes, but to a certain extent, it's just best if you just trust that we have your best interests at heart, and all we are trying to do is distribute all of this route to the community in a sustainable way. Now, an important thing to note here is that when I say community, we are also always looking to grow our community. And growing the community is only ever a good thing. If we were to just distribute all of that route to our existing community, it would actually put us in a very dangerous position for the longevity of the root network as a whole, because it would be nowhere near as decentralized as we would want it to be. So allowing opportunities for newcomers to come in and get a little bit of future score, get a little bit of root, is a good thing, because it's a good thing for everyone, because the more demand that we have coming in, I mean, it's basic economics, more demand equals price go up. So if we're able to do this in a way where over time there are opportunities for these newcomers to come in and get a few future score points, get a few root here and there, that's only ever going to be a good thing for everyone involved in the community. Because at the end of the day, the bigger holders, the long-term holders, the people that have the massive kind of time-held bonuses for being here with us on this journey for so long, are always going to be the ones getting, the bigger payouts. So yes, we are looking to scale the community and provide opportunities for newbies to come in and earn future score and root, but it will pale in comparison to even what you guys are getting paid out right now. And
quick
when we
question,
look at,
Alex.
yeah, yes,
Just so to be on the safe side, I know 2 years has kind of gotten a little confusing for a lot of people, but I mean,
mm-hmm.
that was said a few months ago. Quest started a few months ago. I guess
Yep.
I don't want to assume that 2-year clock started back in July. So would it kind of just be like a safe assumption that maybe by the end of 2025 we should be done with Quest,
Yeah, I'd say
which
that's it.
gives us like 2+ years, under 3 years total from when Quest
Yeah,
started, but a little over, just to be kind of like, hey, we're going to be questing all of 24 and 25.
yeah, that's a pretty safe bet. And I think it's
Okay.
all important to look at, we need to allow ourselves the flexibility to react to whatever's happening in the community, in the market, in the wider industry, to look at the best way for us to distribute these. But in a hypothetical situation, because, at the end of the day, we want to get root out and as much of that supply out in a sustainable way over a reasonable period of time. If we hypothetically ended up in a position where we were at the end of 2 years and we still had, 5% of those, the community pool sat there, we could in theory decide that, okay, we're going to do one last quest here that actually is has a massive reward associated with it, because we're at a point that we're happy with how things are progressed and we just want to get the last of that route out. And that would still go the vast majority of that would still go to the existing community because those are the people that will have the highest future scores. The way that all the future score calculations have been done, and I've delved into it in depth, it is very well constructed. It's very well balanced. I know a lot of people have been calling out certain point scorings, but I've gone through and I've seen the validation behind it. But it is not something that we will ever be posting publicly, because all it's going to do is open up, 1,000 different people with different opinions on how they think certain assets should be scored, and that's just a minefield. It's the same as why we or any other company wouldn't, release our org structure or our internal operations, because it's not relevant really, and it's just opening opportunities for people to come along and say, oh, you should do this, you should do that, you should do this, when that's just making, it doesn't actually solve anything. But to that earlier point, if you're here now, then you've most likely got a large future score, and your current future score will probably be larger than, what a new entrant, someone who joins in 2 months and is here for the next 2 years, what their future score ends up climbing to. So rest assured that you are all in a good position right now. And this is all being done in a very sustainable way. And it's important to note as well, if you're trying to do the maths on the different distributions between the quests, that, as I pointed out, there will be at least 4 more quests between now and end of the year. So that's increasing from just 1 a month. And also, the quest rewards themselves being paid out, if there's more people engaging, or even if the existing people engaging have higher future scores because they've been holding their assets for longer, then that means the overall payout will be bigger. So over time, even if the multiplier doesn't change, the actual amount being paid out, the total amount being paid out, will. I hope that clarifies.
Yeah, it does. Hey, Alex, it's Atari. What's going on?
Hey, yo, how's it going?
Good. Just while I had you on here, I just wanted to just share my personal concerns that was kind of running through my mind. First of all, I did 8 minutes in the cold plunge today, exercised and went to therapy. So self-care, very important.
8 minutes, man, you're a beast. I don't know how you do it.
It's something I thought I'd never be able to do, and it's a personal goal of mine, and I love it. So this is, and let me try to just put my words together. I just want to, hopefully I get them out right.
Yep.
So I guess one of my biggest fears that I feel like is amongst the community is, I know you have our best interest at hand, and I feel like we're scared of being left behind in regards to our actual NFTs, because I'm all about mass adoption. First of all, like, I love it. Like, I'm so excited the fact that we're activating these partnerships.
Yep.
I just, are we, and I don't even know if you can answer it. Are like stuff like eggs, buzzies, thingies, are those going to have any kind of involvement in onboard? Because initially, like, it was said the eggs were going to help mass adopt flufflets, and I just wonder, are we going to be along for the ride on some of this stuff, or is it more just focused?
100%. 100%. Nothing's changed in terms of the strategy for how flufflets, are brought into the world. That is still very much something that is driven by the community through the ownership of these specific collectibles that we have there currently. What we've been working on in the background is, how do we increase the visibility and the demand for something like flufflets? That means that we have a whole flood of new entrants coming on, wanting to participate, wanting to own one, and therefore driving value back to the existing community. And if we take flufflets as a specific example, they're fucking cute, and like, there is a massive opportunity if we position it right to target both like key Asian markets and like the kind of kids market. Well, I say kids, really people with kids, because those are the ones that will buy anything their kids want just to shut them up. But that's where our strategy is really focused on, how do we increase the visibility and increase the demand for these assets. But when you look at flufflets as a whole, and even when it comes to the broader AI applications around things that we're doing with like Gen and that sort of stuff. This is all being done in a way that drives value back to the original community.
Awesome. Thank you so much for answering that question too, bro. I appreciate you. And I was gaslighting a little bit earlier. I get in moods and I was feeding the bullshit, so I just want to own my part on that.
Look, I get it. I get it. It's very easy to get caught up in the narratives that are going around, and it's only natural for us as people to kind of kick up when we feel like we've been betrayed or misled or something like that. But it's very easy for things to get misinterpreted, especially in text chat. And if I'm asleep, God knows how far the conversation can derail over those 8 hours. So as always, it's best to, raise these sort of key questions in something like a specific Ask Us Anything channel where I can come back and clarify, or, even jump on a voice chat like this, because it's a lot easier to work through and clarify certain areas of confusion. One other thing that I want to just point out as well, so I know there's a bit of confusion around what we did yesterday, which was basically giving everyone a bonus of 10 future score if they had completed the quests. I think Marco came in with some information that wasn't accurate as well. So there was a number of wallets that we saw that had completed the quests, which we had gone through and audited to verify that they weren't bots, that had gone through and done quest 3, but had no future score. And on reviewing the official comms that we put out, and yes, it's obvious to people that are here paying attention every day that you need future score to earn root rewards. But after reviewing all of the official announcements that we had out, it became clear that we hadn't explicitly stated that. So we can understand why there would have been people that had come along excited to engage and then gone through and done that work, only to come out the other side with nothing. So what we decided was, and we've touched on this before, there will be other ways in the grand scheme of things to earn future score outside of just owning assets, owning anything from the Futureverse ecosystem. But we decided that in this instance, we would do a little one-off kind of increase to everyone that we saw that had done the quest, both those that had future score and those that didn't, and ensuring and auditing and cutting out those that were bots. So we ended up with I'm not going to disclose the official number, but it was, I think, maybe about 15-20% of the overall wallets that completed the quest that had a 0 score. So we decided we'd give them a increase in score of 10. Now that's just a flat increase. Unlike ownership of a specific collectible, it doesn't increase over time through a time held bonus. It also doesn't have any tradability or anything like that. So those who are here as key owners of our collectibles are still in a very advantageous position. But this is an opportunity to onboard new people, many of whom I would imagine have been referred through friends and through people in the community currently as saying, hey, come on, you should check this out. Just do these simple tasks, help the team test the products that are being launched, and you get an opportunity to earn some tokens. And I see that as only being a good thing long term, because it'll take more people on this journey with us, increase overall demand for both the token itself and the collectibles across the ecosystem, and hopefully grow the ecosystem for everyone.
Kiriana here.
Hey, Kiriana.
Hey, thanks so much for addressing that. That was one of my main questions from yesterday. I was surprised to see the comment that there had been 10 future score points given out to non-NFT holders. So I just want to confirm or clarify more to the point whether or not that was just a one-off, or whether the shift has gone from root rewards being distributed to NFT holders to general community, i.e. all newcomers participating in quests. Could you just clarify that?
So firstly, I noticed that you had kind of screenshot and referenced the like bot command that currently in Discord, and there was a paragraph on the end which was accurate up until yesterday, but that has been removed. All of the rest of it that addressed the opportunity for increase in future score through things like social engagement and all that sort of stuff was touched on there, and that's always been our plan from the start. It just hasn't gone live yet. Now the team have almost finished the work to start rolling out that kind of social metrics and other forms for people to increase their future score above and beyond just asset ownership. But I wouldn't say that. I mean, I think the key thing here is we're not trying to set a precedent moving forward that every quest you do henceforth, you're going to get a bonus future score regardless of whether you have a future score or not, just for completing a quest. That's not at all what we're doing here. It was more that we had recognized that our comms hadn't been as clear as they could have been, so we wanted to kind of create this opportunity for those people. But you will start to see a lot more of this sort of stuff roll out over the coming months that show opportunities for people to earn small bits of future score here and there based on other metrics as well. That said, the primary driver of future score value is currently and will always be the ownership of Futureverse collectibles.
Okay, cool. That's all I was after. Thanks so much for clarifying.
Cool, no worries.
Hey, Alex.
Hey, Alex, it's Bildo.
Yo.
Just wanted to see if you could talk. I know we're getting closer to Quest 2 ending and staking. So I don't know that there's ever been any official comms or anything that's been officially stated, but what happens after that first cycle? Does our route immediately remain staked? Is there another cycle that immediately starts, or will there be some official comms coming out around what's going to be happening with cycle 1 ending?
That is a good question, and I'll actually just add it now quickly. Comms Quest 3 route. Okay, so I've just added that to my task list just to oh no, that's disappeared. God damn it. Notion sometimes just deletes things randomly. So I need to double check on that. I'm not going to say one way or another right now because I don't have the exact information there. I think we're about 3 weeks away from that quest ending, so we will put out some comms that clarify exactly what happens there at the end of the quest and how staked route will be handled. But I appreciate you raising that as a question now because I realize that there is some ambiguity there, so I will get that clarified as soon as possible.
Yeah, much appreciated. I know it hasn't really. I haven't seen anything official on it. I know we're getting closer, so figured I would bring it up now so we can kind of avoid a last minute like, oh shit, we didn't tell anybody about this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hey, Alex, my turn.
Yep, go for it.
Thanks for explaining the general and the way that it's going to go in general for the community reward pool. I would say that, to be more specific, the issue that a lot of us were thinking was a mathematical one in which Quest 1 gave out 1/20th of the rewards, which we understood. We were expecting there to be more than 20 quests. So we were expecting that some quests, or most quests, or even all quests, would be less than that. But the amount of rewards given for quest number 3 was less than 1/500 of the community pool, 2.4 billion root. So we were just thinking that it sounds ridiculous based on what we know for there to be hundreds of quests. in the
Well,
next
there will be
3 years?
if you look at the actual naming of quests themselves, you'll notice that they're named, quest 001, quest 002, quest 003. So the intention
is
is
the frequency of quests going to like be exponential, I guess?
not necessarily exponential, but it will certainly increase. And there'll be a wide range of quests coming through. We're actually doing a lot of work at the moment to build out the actual quest platform itself, so that the actual launching, management, and closing and distribution of route for quests is something that can be handled, a lot more streamlined by, even someone like myself, as opposed to having a heavy dev requirement. But I think to your point, so as I touched on before, yes, the amount of route paid out for this quest was significantly lower. But when it comes to individuals' future scores increasing over time, B, the amount of people within the existing community engaging with quests over time, and C, the actual size of the community itself and the amount of people that have a future score increasing over time, then the actual total amount being paid out per quest could be much higher, even if the multiple itself is still 1-to-1. Now, that's not necessarily going to be the case. We reserve the right to distribute rewards as we see fit. So there may be cases, that we see large amounts distributed around specific quests that make sense in the overall roadmap of how we're rolling out the token. But the key thing here is just to manage expectations that, not every quest is going to be at that level.
But to play devil's advocate real quick, I mean, just because there's more people or my score is continuing to increase because I've held over time, there's also people that have that time held bonus that decide that they want to sell. Like there were 7 fluffs last night that were sold that probably had a decent amount of time held for them. So I would imagine that the future score burned by him selling those was greater than the future score gained by the person buying them. Does that make sense? So there
for sure.
could be an instance where the future score is lower instead of continuing to increase.
Yeah, and that's why it's important for us to have the ability to adapt and be kind of responsive in the way that we distribute route through future score, because as you've rightly pointed out, the total future score of people that engaged in a specific quest could vary, but we're ensuring that we have the flexibility. We can't be overly committed to a specific model of how much is going to be paid out per quest, per month, whatever that may be. But at the end of the day, we are here to pay out all of that 20% pool within an approximate 2-year timeline. So we, as I touched on before, looking at that
no way trying to be
in a
negative about it.
In a hypothetical, we might get to near the end of those 2 years and be like, oh, we've actually still got a lot of route here we want to distribute. So we do a series of quests that have a much bigger reward associated to it. And yes, there will be more people in the community and more people engaging at that point, but the vast majority of it will still be going to, the core community, the people with massive future scores who have been here for a long time and have bigger holdings.
I mean, is it safe to assume, I look at the future score as like a multiplier, and this was obviously a 1x multiplier. Is that safe to assume that that's going to be at the lower end of what a multiplier of a future score would be? And then obviously quest 1 was kind of on the higher side.
Yeah, I mean, I don't imagine we would be doing many, if any, quests at a lower multiplier than that. And if they were, I would say they would be just the most basic, simple quests ever. But yes, it is very safe to assume that that is on the low end.
I would say one thing we learned today was there's going to be a lot more quests than most of us expected. 100 quests. Ooh.
It's all about playing a game. It's all about being here, being active, and as I say, we might have a product launch that comes out in 6-9 months time that actually requires a lot of beta testing or whatever it may be. And in a situation like that, we might say, you know what, we're going to do a massive route payout associated with this, which actually, shifts the needle extensively. But a lot of these smaller ones that are, reasonably straightforward, drift towards that lower end of the spectrum. And you'll start to see more and more of it happen as we start to roll out more product updates, as we announce more partnerships, increase the usability functionality. There will be a lot of opportunities. I think what is confusing people right now is that basically the community are trying to do the maths in the background and extrapolate the overall distribution based on 2 single data points, which is just not a kind of realistic way to figure this out. So I know it's I know it's not necessarily the answer that you want, because everyone wants as much clarity as possible, but there is only so much information that we're going to release at any given time around how FutureScore will work, and a certain amount of it is just going to have to be that, trust us, we are doing this with the best interests of the community at heart and the longevity of the root network as a whole. And look, I know a lot of people don't necessarily like the trust us narrative, but I would expect that the sheer fact that you're all here and have been with us for so long is a strong indicator that you do trust us, and that we are in the right direction, and we will continue doing what we're doing. We'll continue building out the tech, we'll continue bringing in the partnerships, and we'll continue distributing root in a way that we see as sustainable and in the best interests of the long-term longevity of the root network as a whole.
I got one more question, if you don't mind. I know you mentioned there'll be ways for people to engage without NFTs to potentially raise it. Will there also be quests that are like project specific, like a fluff quest that you would need a fluff or a party bear or a thingy to participate in, and or a bonus because
100.
you have that asset, or will all quests kind of be for everybody?
No, 100%. Some quests will be project or product specific. I mean, looking at like it was before the quest launch. It was more of a, it was a challenge at the time. But the TNL Boxer Bridge, that, for example, is something that could only be done by people that own TNL boxes. There will be many that are specific to products. And in general, when we talk about the opportunity for people to earn FutureScore without actually having, by completing quests to earn FutureScore or increase their FutureScore in other ways, those will either require a lot of work or have some kind of cost associated with them, because those are important metrics to mitigate or remove the chance for that to be botted and farmed. So, as I say, there might be other quests that come up soon that just completing the quest itself gives an increase in FutureScore, but expect that those will either require a lot of work and work that is not easily bottable, like actually really going in and kind of beta testing an experience, or actually have some kind of cost associated, even if it's, say, for example, like bridging XRP from the XRPL. That in of itself has some form of cost associated with it. So therefore, it's not something that can really be botted without it actually costing the bots a significant amount of money. We also do have some monitoring tools that we've implemented to actually help audit and determine who are bots and who aren't. But that's not something that we're going to discuss at all either, because telling people how we find bots is also just telling spot is how to avoid our auditing tools.
Yeah, I guess I was just trying to think it through in my head, and if there were trait specific or project specific quests, I guess my thinking behind it would be that a fluff quest would probably be distributing more root than maybe a AFA or one of the smaller that doesn't get you as much future scores. You know what I mean? To where there's going to be varying sizes of quests, and that could be project specific quest as well.
Yeah. I'm a little bit late for my next meeting, but I can stay for 1 or 2 more minutes if anyone has one final question.
I'm all good. Thank you so much for answering everything. I found it very informative today. Thank you.
Appreciate it. And yeah, silence is golden. So appreciate that. Hopefully this can put a stem to...
appreciate you coming in, Alex.
So, is that? Oh, no. Anyway, so yeah, hopefully this puts a stop to any of the kind of confusion and FUD that was going on. I also just want to acknowledge that I've had a lot of people approach me and the team about certain individuals who, you know, may be long-standing members of the community, but are just consistently negative in all of their communication. And we will be taking a slightly more heavy-handed approach with how we deal with these people. We've, you know, worked very hard, provided a lot of opportunities, are constantly building, are doing everything we can to provide as much value. And if we have people that are coming in every day and doing nothing but bring the entire community down, there's only so long we're going to stick with that. So, you know, once again, we're not asking for toxic positivity. We want critical, constructive feedback and, you know, encourage skepticism and all of that. But if all you're doing is coming in here and talking shit on us and bringing the community down, don't expect to stay here much longer.
I mean, I think the best way we can end it is a wag me from Schiller.
Wag me, brother.
Send it. All right. Well, on that cheerful note, I love and appreciate you all. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for supporting us. You know, it's a wild journey we're all on. It's not easy being, you know, one of the innovators or early adopters in such a kind of innovative industry and technological field. So, you know, it's always going to come with its speed bumps, its hurdles, its highs and lows. But thank you all for participating. Thank you all for believing in us. Thank you all for sticking with us through thin and thin. And thanks for, you know, participating in the FutureScore Quest themselves. It's been really invaluable for us in terms of the feedback that we've gotten from the community and how it's helped us shape a lot of the development that we're doing, both on a product but also on a platform level. So, you know, really appreciate having you all here with us. You know, the fact that you're all showing up every day to listen to me, you know, go on these rants is clearly an indicator of a significant, not just financial, but emotional investment in this journey that we're on. So, you know, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge that and reinforce that we are doing everything we can to deliver as much long-term value to the community as possible.